Can I have your attention, please? Thank you for coming to our first combined Ward 2 and Ward 3 meeting. We're hoping to do a lot more of these moving forward. I know there were some questions in the survey on how information gets to the residents, and we've done it through the water bill, and we're going to touch on a possible newsletter here soon. But we thought this was another way, an informal, as opposed to a council meeting. There's a lot more faces here than there are at a council meeting. We thought this would be a better venue, more informal and more of a discussion type meeting. So first of all, a couple points. There were some handouts that were given to you as you guys walked in. Those are from Mr. Osborne. I can't confirm or I can't talk to the points that he put on his flyers. The handouts that we do have up here, and most of you have gotten those.
This is our PowerPoint presentation.
This is the PowerPoint. On this one, most of you got that. The boxes are very, you can't read them. It's this one right here, George. This one. The boxes are a little small. I have about 30 copies of a bigger presentation. Yes, ma'am. The ones that Randy are passing out have a larger format. You're able to read it a little bit better. For those of you that are getting the handout with the small print, the smaller boxes, if you want to come up after the meeting, talk to me or Mary Beth, we will get you a copy so you can see a little better.
You can also email it to them.
And we can email it to you as well. All right, folks, if I could ask too, this is Stephanie Ware, and this is your Ward 3 councilwoman. She's a little under the weather. She lost her voice. She's just barely getting it back, so bear with her.
Right. I'm just going to say a couple things. I haven't missed a day of work, I think, in 10 years, and I took off today and got out of bed till about 3, so this is about as good as it gets. But you probably don't want to be too close to me. I don't know what's going on, so I apologize, but I wanted to make sure that I was here tonight. I'm going to let Jeff do most of the speaking, and if you have questions for me afterwards, I'll give you my email. I honestly think that that's best. I was with my 2 nephews this past weekend, and they ended up going to stat care the next day, so I don't know what I have. So I just wanted to say, when I was walking the neighborhoods in the fall, when I was campaigning, one of the comments that people made was, boy, we wish we knew more what was going on, and that's one of the really big things we want to talk about today is how we get information to you. The repository does a really nice job of reporting, but we all don't get the repository, and sometimes it's just blurbs and you don't get to really hear everything that we're doing and everything that's going on in the city. So people said, hey, there used to be some ward meetings, and so it was one of the things I brought back, and I'd asked Jeff, hey, why don't we try to do a combined ward meeting? And I love the turnout that we got. Hopefully we can find an easier way to get information to you and maybe not do a mailing. It's expensive to do a mailing. One of the things the mayor is going to talk about later too is from the survey, a newsletter that goes out. I know in Plain Township they have a newsletter that goes out, and it really hits a lot of the high points and gets information to you in an easier way. Kind of like if we could plan ward meetings and we would say, well, they're 2 times a year and there are these dates, you mark them down, and then we wouldn't have to send you that other letter and save the city money. So I'm going to let Jeff do most of the PowerPoint. We're going to switch roles. I just can't talk. So I apologize, and thank you all for doing that.
Not a problem. And also to introduce, if you don't know, this is the Ward 4 Councilman Dominic Fonte, and we have Marcia Kiesling. She's one of our at-large council members, and obviously Mr. Mayor, Mayor Held, is here as well. So, oh yes, I'm sorry, Eric Bowles, Director of Permits and Inspection. We have our Law Director, Tim Fox, back in the corner. So if you have any questions, concerns, issues as it relates to permits, nuisance type stuff, this is the guy right here. You can always direct it to me, but he's the one that ultimately handles that. And Tim can handle any questions as far as legal goes. First of all, again, this is an informal meeting, and I want everyone, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to speak up. Whether they're opposing view, it doesn't matter. We want to hear what you have to say, and we want to be as responsive as we possibly can. Now, to start out, obviously this is a joint ward meeting, but the goals of the city pertain to each individual ward, and our two main goals are to bring new jobs to the city and to be more efficient in the government, which is a value to you guys. We do all of that at a great value to the constituents. We're the only municipality in Stark County that operates on a 1.5 income tax. All the other municipalities in the county are at 2%, with the exception of Massillon, they're 1.8, but I would imagine that's going to be changing pretty soon. Now, as far as the ward goals, and I'll speak for Stephanie on this as well, and Don, we're, safe neighborhoods, beautiful parks and recreational facilities, and street maintenance and paving. Those are the three big things that I focus on and I look at as I go about my business in representing the second ward. And some of the things that that we've accomplished to date, you're sitting in one of them. I don't know how long it's been since you folks have been in this facility. If you haven't, you look around, you notice there have been many updates. And this, in my opinion, as far as parks and recreation in my ward, this is the crown jewel. Along with Dogwood Pool, but we worked very hard on getting this completed, and I think I hope you guys would agree that we did a pretty good job. And I don't know if you had a chance to look around the back here. This is a new addition. There's a driveway around the back, so if you're just renting this side, you're going to have your own grill and an area to set up over there, so you won't all be congregated over in this area. As far as street maintenance, we completed 15 street projects last year, and this year we just finished the Woodside rebuild project, and I'm assuming most of you have already seen that, and I'm very proud of that. We worked hard for a good 2 or 3 years to get the funding and get that on the docket to get completed. So I'm very proud of that. And we're working hard in other areas. Yes, sir.
Since you're being on the street,
yes.
I happen to be married to a woman who can drive down the street and if there's a pothole, she will find it. And I've got broken teeth from getting potholes. There's a pothole on Meadow Lane Drive between South Main and Pacifica.
Okay.
And I have brought that to the attention of the street department on a couple of occasions. But could you have a guy come by there with a bag of something and throw them out the hole and stomp it down? So the next time I go up Meadow Lane, I don't get time to see them in the car because you get that car.
Absolutely. I think we can have somebody down there by tomorrow or maybe the next day.
But I saw a car the other day, and the hubcap flew off. So
well, interesting you said that. We have a new piece of equipment. It's called a Durapatcher. It's more like a chip and seal type thing where it blows the hot tar into it and then puts the rocks in it and it solidifies. A little different color. It doesn't really match the road, but it's very sturdy, and it's much better than a clump of asphalt that we used to put down.
I appreciate you look at that.
We will. Steph, did you get that? Okay. And Mayor heard that as well, so we'll...
Every time I get on Meadow Lane, I get my teeth.
Very nice. We'll get on that for you. Now, when I mentioned bringing jobs to the city, a point of pride for us is of the top 10 employers in the city, 4 of them reside in the Hoover District. Now, I know as of late the process has been a little slow over there. I know we've been frustrated. I'm sure everyone else has been frustrated too. At least they're moving in the right direction, just not at the pace we want to. But as of right now, 4 of our top 10 employers are in the Hoover District, and I expect great things. I mean, I'm expecting great things with that. Does anyone have any questions as it pertains to that? Yes, sir.
You can have a team put together to really look at economic development, to bring companies into the city, big companies that can produce a decent tax revenue and offer jobs for people.
Well, Mayor, do you want to talk to that?
Yeah, sure. First up, thanks for coming. This is great. We have a nice crowd here, and I see some of our residents here that come to our council meetings pretty regularly. But it's nice to see you all here. When you look at economic development, you know we're competing against other communities. That's the tough part. It's just like any business. When you're trying to bring your patrons into your business to buy your product, you're competing with other communities. I think we've really done an excellent job here in North Canton, and we've done that in a couple of ways. Number one, we haven't raised the income tax. We've kept the income tax at 1.5%, and really why we're so impressed with that, at least from a competition standpoint, is that when you think of North Canton's income tax back in the year 2000, so 16 years ago, our income tax collection was $7 million. And then when the Hoover Company left and we had the downturn in the economy, anybody guess what the income tax was? $5.4 million. We went from $7 million to $5.4 million in 2010. That's 23% of our income. So if you think of your own household, and if you figure if a family's making $50,000, and then you lose, what, $12,000, $11,500 of your income, and you're still supposed to operate in the same manner, some would say, well, it's impossible. You can't operate like that. But in North Canton, what we did is we started to apply for grants. So since that time in 2005, when we first got started, when I first began serving as mayor, and most all of our council members were also serving at that time, we brought in over $30 million in grants. $30 million. Historically, the council members that have been around, Marcia and Jeff, for a number of years, we just didn't apply for that many grants because we didn't need to. So it was the grants that helped us, and then also we got a $5 million grant from the Hoover District, or for the Hoover District from the state of Ohio. And without that, we wouldn't have those jobs here. So right now, we're collecting about $400,000 a year in revenue, and our income tax is back up to just over $7 million. The other thing that we did, when Jeff had mentioned about cost-efficient and effective local government, our goals have been real simple. Bring jobs. Every decision that we make has to meet one or two of these criteria. Bring jobs to the city. So if we make a decision, we bring in jobs to the city. If the answer is no, then are we going to be more cost efficient and effective in our government service? If the answer is no to that, then we're not doing it. It's plain and simple. So we had 116 full-time employees, and now we're down to 92. So we reduced our staff by over 20%. But we've learned to be more efficient with things. We've learned to prioritize. One example is when you look at our storm sewer catch basins, that's where all the storm sewer flows into. Typically, we would replace those every 5 to 6 years because we would spread a lot of salt. People love our streets because there's not a lot of ice and snow as compared to other communities, but it's because we use a lot of salt. And with a lot of salt, it destroys the catch basins. And so we were replacing them every 5 to 6 years. It was just a habitual. Now we use precast. Those last, I think they're 30 to 40 years. Once you put them in, they last forever. So there's so many different changes that we've made to make it more efficient. And with the jobs, to answer the jobs, we've kept the taxes at 1.5%. And the other interesting point that companies have been interested in is parking. There's no parking, no cost to park. So for example, if you go to other communities, a lot of employees have to pay to park. That could be $50, $60 a month. And so it's really the income tax. And when we say the income tax, people are like, oh, does it really matter? Well, think about it this way. If you're a company that employs 100 people and you're in a community that you pay 2%. Yeah, the restroom's back here if anybody needs right in the back. If you're paying 2% and you're going to move to a community, are you going to move to a community that is going to pay, you know, it's 2.5% that you got to pay your, or 2.25%? You know, no, you don't want to do that. Because then that company has to come up with that money. So, so to answer the question, it's been grants. That has really helped us. And doing everything, we just believe that doing everything with quality. We don't necessarily have to be bigger, we just want quality.
Have you considered the trick that a lot of communities have used in the western part of the United States is creating duty-free zones where manufacturers can move in there and their inventory, they don't have to pay a floor tax on it.
Yes.
So they ship it out.
Yes.
And they generally don't get a tax break. So 1.5, 1.2, whatever it is. I know my wife and I originally we retired here from Nevada.
Yes.
We took a long, hard look at the communities in this area, and we were flat out sold on North Canton.
Yeah.
If I were going to advertise anything about North Canton, I would advertise it. It's a great place to retire.
That's good. We're glad you picked here. We're glad you're living here.
With good dental insurance.
Yeah. Yes.
Income taxes are paid by the employees, not the
Yes.
employee.
Yeah, that's a good question. Chuck just mentioned that the income taxes are paid by the employee. Guess who makes the decision as to where the business goes to the, what city? The employer. So the employer, what we do is we will collect income tax from the employees. So whenever you work in a city, you pay where you work. So for example, Marcia Kiesling works, our councilman Marcia Kiesling works in the city of Canton. She pays 2% income tax to the city of Canton. How much does she pay income tax to North Canton? 0. Because we give the, what's that?
A little bit on this wage.
Okay, so depending on where she works. So now she works a little bit in North Canton, so she'll pay some here. But what we do is we give a tax credit because we don't, and that's usually what a lot of municipalities do.
Reciprocity.
Right? Reciprocity. You pay where you work. So to answer that question, the employer, they're the ones that have to pay the employees. So they want to pay out as little as possible. And so when they come to a community that has a lower tax rate, so let's say that everybody's paying income tax to a municipality. Yeah, come on in here.
Come on in,
folks.
guys.
We'll get you some chairs.
Sit back here if you like. Plenty of chairs over here.
Yeah, right over here. Have a seat. Right here. So you can go. Oh, hi. Kurt, come on in. We got more chairs here.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at, have a seat right here. So the whole thing is, we try to make it attractive to the employers because they're the ones that make the decision. And we've heard that the low income tax rate of 1.5%, the fact that they don't have to park, and you know what the other 2 items were? Safe community. They love that North Canton is a safe community. And they love the school systems, and it's typically in that order. The income tax, the parking, safe community, and the school system.
I would direct this question to Mr. Peters.
Yes, sir.
You have referred to the Dogwood Pool as economic hub
Yes.
within North Canton.
Economic driver.
And you, Mr. Mayor, said all of your decisions are sound decisions.
Yeah.
Was that a sound decision with the pool?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is the cost of it so far?
I think the
50.
Yeah, total cost. is
$850.
Yeah.
Anything more in the
$850,000.
works now to repair it or to get it? I mean, when's it gonna open?
Well, we don't have an answer to that yet. There are some benchmarks that need to be hit. Mayor, you could probably
Yeah.
speak a little bit more on that.
So here's the thing. You know, when you look at something like a pool, one of the things that I found in government, it's kind of like at my own home. I've got 6 kids, And, you know, everybody's got different personalities, they all have different interests, all coming from the same two parents. But it's funny how everybody has a different approach and a different viewpoint. And what we try to do with the council members and myself and the administrative staff is you try to find that place of agreement where most everybody is going to reasonably agree that this is the best approach that we're going to take to something. You might have some that say, you know, my kids aren't in the school system anymore, so that doesn't concern me as much. You might have another that says, well, you know, when you look at the pool, I don't have little kids, so we don't go to the pool anymore. But then you'll have others that say, my gosh, I love the fact that you have the YMCA close by. I love the fact that you have the swimming pool. Everybody has different interests. And the one thing that we have learned, and we've discussed this, Jeff and I and also the other council members, is that what we know in North Canton is what we're doing now is working. And the reason we know that it's working is because of the surveys that we get back. Now that doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree that we should have had a pool. But for the most part, we know that if you have a swimming pool, if you have a YMCA, if you have a park system, if you have walking tracks, the more that you have to appeal to a lot of different people, the better off the community's going to be.
You didn't answer the question, when
Which
is
is-
it going to open?
We can't answer that right now. And let me
But
explain
it's an
why.
economic hub.
Yeah, no, listen, Larry,
That
I'm
doesn't
gonna,
change
because
the
we
fact.
went through this, let me answer the question.
Yes.
Here's what happened. When you look at the swimming pool, whenever you're taking electricity and water and you're mixing them, you have a real dangerous combination. And they had a report on ABC News where they've had a number of people so far this year that have been electrocuted in swimming pools. And the fact is, our electrical inspector did not approve the permit for the swimming pool. So then I have council members calling me, I have residents calling me, I have the YMCA calling me. I'm calling the health department, the state health department, which has to approve it, the county health department. And it's real simple to me. If it doesn't meet the electrical requirements, it doesn't open. Very simple. People can be upset, but the fact is, we have the #1 priority is to make sure everybody is safe.
Why don't you sell us pool passes?
Okay, but now let me answer that. Why did we sell you pool passes? Did we expect that the pool was not going to pass the electrical inspection? Not at all. We expected that the pool was going to be open. It's kind of like if you're looking at my jacket, maybe they picked this up on the video here, the button fell off when I was coming here, okay? I hear this little ding and I got the button right here. It fell off. So what am I going to do? Well, you know, I walk in like this, or I put this lower button down. I didn't expect it to happen. We didn't expect for the pool not to meet the electrical requirements. Didn't expect it. It was bad news. But what my experience tells me is that I would much rather have people disappointed that they're a little hot over the weekend, or that they don't get the full 2 weeks or 3 weeks of pool time that they would like, because people get upset. But you know, the worst thing that we would have happen is if somebody got electrocuted in the pool. That would be something, you can fix parts, you can offer refunds, but you cannot fix when somebody is harmed or electrocuted. That's just a simple answer. Mr. Mayor?
Can they have a refund?
No, hold on. Go ahead.
Two questions. What does the lease that the Y has? What do they pay for the lease?
Well, we've got an agreement with them. What they're doing is they're managing the pool. So we have a shared revenue with them.
So it's free?
No,
They're not paying? They're
No.
not paying that?
no.
Like, if I lease a car, I have a monthly payment.
Yeah, I see where you're going. So you're trying to say, is the city making any money off of allowing the YMCA to run it? Is that?
Well, that's one of the questions. I got about 90 questions on it, but that's one.
So, but my sense is that I sense that you're uncomfortable that we're working with the
fact
Y.
that they're leasing it, and they're not paying any money.
They're not leasing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they're not leasing.
Well,
But they are paying for lifeguards.
yeah, no, but see, here's what I guess the thing is, I don't want to get caught up in the
We have all the
terminology.
documents on that. don't we?
But this is what it is. We have an arrangement. They're managing the pool.
Okay, they're managing.
They're managing the pool.
Okay, if they're
And-
managing it.
Yeah.
Why last year, it was the filthiest I've seen the pool in 15 years.
Yeah,
Still.
yeah, because the filtration system
No,
was.
no. The trash cans were never washed.
Okay, so are you talking about the pool water or the trash cans?
I'm
The
talking
entire
about the whole
facility.
facility.
Well, here's what this is, let me put it to you this way. I mean, I can sense that both of you are upset over the pool.
Yes. Very
Yes.
upset.
And here's the question that I have. Our goal is to make the pool the best place possible for you folks. If you folks would like a refund, we can give you a refund because
I want the pool.
I want the pool open. I mean, I want the pool open too. But you know, the thing is, I can assure you, that pool is not going to open until it is safe. That's it. And I don't think you don't want, I think you want that
I
too.
don't want anybody getting hurt.
Right.
But my point is, another point, they told us the pool closed, I think it was 2 weeks early or a week early last year, so they could start working on it.
Yes,
They never started working on it until March.
yes.
Yeah, we weren't happy with that either. I don't have an answer.
What's the reason in that?
We don't have an answer
Yeah.
for that. We weren't happy as well.
Well, you know, here's the. I mean, let me just make this real clear because I can see how things can get out of control really quickly. I mean, there is no incentive at all. There's no incentive at all for us to say, hey, let's not open up the pool on time. Hey, let's make sure that they don't meet the requirements. And so the thing is, and then they'll say, well, you know, Mayor, you should just let them have it. Let those contractors have it. But you know, the thing is, you've got to follow a process. We absolutely have to follow a process. We've got to follow rules. We've got to follow regulations. It's not like if I contract with somebody at my house and you know, to do something that I can just go and dismiss them. You just can't.
Why did you pick an out-of-state contract?
You know how many companies qualified to do the work that bid? Two out of the whole country. There were two. Two companies in the whole country that were qualified to do this work. We had, I think there was 10 or 12 bids. A lot of people want to bid. I mean, I hear that a lot in government too. People will say, well, heck, what are you paying this person that amount for? I'd do it for less than that. Well, I'm sure you probably would, but are you qualified to do it? And you know, one thing that I have learned is that if you don't meet the qualifications, if you don't meet the requirements, you're in a lot of trouble. You're in a lot of trouble because you know what happens? Bad decisions are made.
Mr.
Really
Mayor,
bad decisions are made.
I'm
Hold
being
on,
told
let
that
me...
there were no permits pulled by the contractor for this project. Consequently, nobody got a chance to inspect it till it was closed up.
Yeah, and here's what, this is like another thing, because I don't want to get into all the details over this. The fact is you have to have the Ohio Department of Health approve it. You've got to have the county health department approve it. You also have to have approval from the city electrical inspector and the building inspector. And so we've got to go through that, we got to go through that process. And the thing is, I know people are upset. I knew when I came here I was going to have questions from Chuck. I know that you folks here in the back, I do feel badly. I don't want to come here and tell you bad news that the pool isn't going to open up.
So were permits issued by the...
No, there's no permits that's issued right now. There's no and it's not going to be.
So the contractor never issued...
No, we have to issue an occupancy permit.
So the
And we're not
contractor
going to do
never
it.
pulled permits
No.
when he started construction?
No.
Why?
No, he didn't do that. And here's the thing, Chuck, because we go through, Chuck and I go back and forth usually every week, and I don't want to take up everybody else's time over this thing. But what we'll do
But this is central to your problem.
yeah, no, I don't think it is. It's not. It's not. But go ahead.
You're saying there was nobody overseeing the project?
No, that's untrue.
The state was.
Yeah, the state.
Nobody
And our city.
was there to
Yes,
oversee
or the
the
state
project.
and the city.
And yes, you've invested, what, $850,000,
Yes.
and now probably more to come? So over $1 million you're going to have invested. Nobody from the city was
It's
there
untrue,
to
Larry.
oversee it.
Larry.
I asked you a question.
I know. No, I'm saying that's not correct. That's untrue.
What's
We had
untrue?
plenty of people that were overseeing the project that still continue to oversee the project, and that's what we're
And
doing.
an electrical problem
Yeah.
gets by them
And
overseeing
Larry,
the
why do you
project.
think the pool isn't opened up right now? No, but think about this, folks. Think
doesn't
about
add
it.
up.
I mean, no, it does add up, but you don't understand the process. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, I'm trying, and the thing is, Larry, you come up to the council meetings regularly. You're more comfortable in this situation, and the same thing with Chuck. We're here to answer the questions, but I really don't want to get into the whole permitting process with the pool. It's not because I'm afraid to. It's not because we have something to hide. That's not it. It's just that there is a pretty lengthy process that we've got an attorney that makes sure that he guides us through all the steps when we're going through these processes, because I can't even recite all of the steps in the legal code that we're supposed to meet when we're looking at a contract. I mean, it becomes really, really extensive.
Mr.
Hold
Mayor.
on, no, hold on, Chuck. You've already had a question. Go ahead.
One last question. Last year, I don't know if this is a fact, but I had heard that the Y run out of consumables, toilet paper, whatnot, and that a city employee brought those supplies for the Y. Now, is that going to be the same policy this year where the city is going to supply consumables?
Well, this is what because I'm not sure what your question is. Is it that
Well, who's supplying the stuff that I should supply? If I'm in business to
I mean,
run
if you want to sell, are you selling like toiletries and things like that? And if you want to sell it to the city?
No.
Or you want to know whether to
The
sell it
Y run out of toilet paper. And they got somebody from the city to deliver it. So who is supposed to be?
Who told you that the city was delivering? I mean, I'm not.
We've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, then I can't answer to that. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the city would supply the toilet paper, but I'm not sure what you're getting at.
I'm getting at the fact that the Y's running it, then the Y should supply all goods to run it.
Yeah,
Well,
but
and keep in mind too, last year was the first year on this, and there were going to be a lot of hiccups. And if they ran out of toilet paper, I don't think that the city workers were thinking about, well, how's this going to look? They were thinking about, hey, let's get toilet paper to the people. I'm sure that's what it was.
What was wrong with the way it was run before?
I'll answer that question.
Okay.
When you look at the YMCA, they're a worldwide organization. The one thing they know how to do is run swimming pools. They do it. And you may, yeah, okay.
Been there last summer.
But you know, I'm going to disagree with you because they have a lot more experience. Yeah, but I know you're pointing out mistakes. There's a.
Your kids are there every
I
day.
understand, but here's what.
Hold on,
Your life's
Mayor, I can speak to that. Look, there were a lot of hiccups last year, okay? This was the first time they ran our pool. We have been doing it a certain way for so many years.
Very well.
Exactly, and a lot of people were used to that. The YMCA came in. One of the things that I got the major, and I was at the pool a lot last year, as were my children, almost every day. So I understand where you're coming from. One of the biggest complaints that I had was they weren't allowing the kids to just go in the water. They were making them take a deep water test.
Yeah.
That was a complaint. I was, quite frankly, as a father of 4 children, I was shocked that was a complaint. That those guys actually expected kids to be able to prove they could swim to go in the deep end. I mean, are you kidding me? Look, there were some things that we had to overcome last year, okay? I fully expect this year to be better, and then better the next year. This is a work in progress, okay? And you have to excuse me if I seem a little frustrated, but that was a big point of contention for me last year, that I actually had complaints about having to take a deep water test, actually proving you could swim to go into the deep water. I have a 6-year-old, and I was all for it. If she can't pass that test, she stays in the baby pool, period. Because a lot of times I'm not there, and my 14-year-old is watching them. So yeah, and that's where the mayor was going with that, is they know how to run a pool from a safety standpoint, and they run their pool very well. I would expect this year, and they may even get it all figured out this year, that they're going to run their pool, this pool over here, as well as they do in their facility. I have no question about that. Yes, sir.
Now, is it true that they're going to eliminate the high dive?
No, they're coming back.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Sue.
Is there going to be any leniency as, I mean, the children's end was like a fish frenzy, because you have to have the adult in there with 2 children.
Right.
And you have all these little kids, and they were letting them jump off the wall into the pool. There's so many in there, I would take my little neighbor and get out and go to play area.
Spray park, okay.
And it used to be that we could take her with her life jacket on into the deep water. There was a woman sitting there with a little baby, not going in, not doing anything, and they ordered the children there.
Okay.
There needs to be a little bit of lenience.
I have a question.
Of the number of children. I have no problem with them taking a test to see if they can swim in deep water. That makes sense to me.
Now, were they forcing an adult to be with 2 if they had a wristband?
I don't know that. I just know that the rule was if you were the adult, and if you had 3 children, what do you do?
Well, if you pass the deep water test, you don't need somebody there with you.
I'm talking about like, when we started taking this little girl, she was 2.5. So we put a life jacket on her and stayed right with her in the deep end and taught her how to swim, how to jump off, blah, blah, blah. She was not without a life jacket unless she was in the children's area. Now, you're not allowed to take your own child with you, on you, into the deep water. We always did that before. It's just that they pack too many people and too many children into the children's end. On
Into one area.
They run the test for the deep water swimming when the adults get the pool time.
I can't speak specifically to that right now, but I will talk to Ben Wheeler about that. And if you would like, I could set up a conference. Us three can get together and you could ask questions directed to him. And he would be able to answer a lot of those. If anyone else had any questions as it pertains to the policy and procedures of the pool, Ben Wheeler would be the guy to speak with. Hold on, Rod, there's one over here. Yes, ma'am.
I guess I'm confused why we ever asked the why to get involved to manage a pool when historically I don't think we've had any accidents at our pool for a long time. The past 8 years, that pool was clean to the point you could almost eat on the back of the porch. Why did we, as a city, think we needed the why to run our pool?
I can speak to that as a member of council. I have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers, and we saw tax savings. We saw a savings there, shared by shared resources. They have purchasing power for chemicals and the like that we didn't necessarily have access to. So there was a savings there. There was a savings. They supplied all the lifeguards. They manned the concession stand. So there were some savings there, and we looked. That's what we looked at. We looked at the potential savings. Period. That was it. And we didn't think bringing the YMCA to run a swimming pool was such a bad idea because they run their own swimming pool now. They do it across the country. So that was the driving force as it relates to that.
It's primarily the same lifeguards, though. You do know that, right?
Yeah. And,
Yes.
and you know, here's the other thing, but because your son was the pool manager and he did a great job for us. I mean, he did an excellent job running the pool. And you know, the thing is that what we've looked at is that when you look at running a city, now you think about taking 116 full-time employees and now you're down to 1. We still have to plow the streets. We still have to manage the pool. We still have to collect the income taxes. There's all these things that we have to provide. It's not like a preference. We've got to make sure that the police show up when there's a 911 call. We got to make sure that there's a fire department.
To the pool passes. Why wouldn't you just do that?
Well, you know what? That's an easy solution. Just raise taxes. Just raise the pool rates. And that's what we try not to do because a lot of communities, I mean, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Because, what's that? Yeah, but see, this is what my point is that you're bringing up a very good point because some people will say, hey, just raise the water rates, just raise the pool rates, just raise the taxes, right? But then if you talk to other people, they're like, whoa, hold on a minute. I don't want to be paying more property tax. I don't want to pay a higher pool rate. So you have people that have differing opinions. What we try to do is, again, it goes back to these two things that Jeff Peters had mentioned. Number one, every decision that we make, can we bring new jobs to the city? Why are jobs important? That's how we collect income tax. If you don't have jobs in the city, that is where we get over 60% of our income from people who work here. The people who live in the city, less than 40% pay income tax. Less than 40% of the people that live in the city pay income tax. Why is that? It's because if you're retired, you don't pay the income tax. If you're on disability, you don't pay the income tax. If you work in the city of Canton or Akron, you don't pay the income tax. So really what's important, the driving force, are jobs in the city. So that's why we work to get jobs in the city. The next thing that we do is we've got to make sure that we're cost efficient in what we're doing. Some people will say, for example, we had a horrible tragedy on Main Street where that 16-year-old girl ran into the motorcycle and killed the young man, and the other girl, when they got to the scene, she was trapped under the car, and thankfully she still lived. But when you look at our fire, our EMS, and our police, from the time that the 911 call came through, they had the car off of the young lady with the airbags within 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Okay? So when you look at our police, our fire, our EMS, I mean, we have two of our retired firefighters right here.
Great, there's one over there.
That's right, 3. And you know, when you think about it, why did, when we had our resident survey, our police department, 93% of the people that responded to the survey gave our police department 93% a good or excellent rating. 92% gave our fire and EMS a good to excellent rating. Our trash collection was like 94% good to excellent rating. Our street removal, 88%, snow and ice, good to excellent rating. I mean, these are incredible survey results, incredible survey results. The areas that we were deficient in, road repairs, and the code enforcement. The code enforcement was like, I think, around 50%. So people that, you know, if somebody has a property, you know, with a fence that's annoying to the neighbor, that's an issue. And then the street repairs, that's been a challenge.
Now, hold on, Rich, 1 second, if you could hold on 1 second.
In other words, you're only getting taxes from people who work in the city.
Yes.
Okay, why is that? Isn't the state legislature able to change that tax code so that if you live in North Canton, you pay taxes in North Canton?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way the state law is how we pay taxes.
City council could change that.
And I mean, what is it you would want to change? Yeah. Now that's a good point. Yeah. So you could say that if somebody works in Canton, we don't have to have the reciprocity. We could make them pay. That's something that could be approved. Yeah. Or somebody that's so. I mean, you can change those tax laws if you wanted to. Right.
Okay. Now you're talking like a politician. Now you're talking like a politician. A politician. I know, but you're talking like one. I mean, there's so many ways that I could raise revenue. It would make your head spin. But that's one thing that I'm not going to do. If you work in the city of Canton, you're paying 2%. I'm not going to turn around and make you pay 1.5% for a total of 3.5. Well, that's the state legislature issue. Yeah, there's nothing I can do to that point. But let me, if you can hold on 1 second, let me back this up to Larry's point. These guys had some questions in regards to the pool. There are some issues that we need to address with Ben Wheeler. Lynn, I mean, call me. We'll sit down with Ben. I mean, let me know what your issues are, and we'll go point by point with him, and we'll make sure that we address everything that you need to get addressed. Okay, I want you guys in a comfort zone. I want everybody in a comfort zone over there. Okay. All right, very good. And Larry, back to your point. You questioned whether it was an economic hub. I disagreed with that. I said it was an economic driver. And here's where I'm going from. I heard you out. I did not interrupt you. Please allow me the same opportunity. I appreciate it. Thank you. I consider it an economic driver. Okay, I've been the ward councilman in this ward for over 10 years. I live in the house that I grew up in, so I've lived in this neighborhood for 40 years plus. Okay, look around. Not everyone has a nice house like you, and you take great care of it. And I love that. But look back here in this neighborhood. There are some post-World War II homes. Some of them don't have basements. Some of them don't have garages. Okay. 10 years ago, they were selling for $99,000 to $129,000. A couple of them have sold over there for $39,000, Larry. That neighborhood is in danger. It's in danger. You take that pool away, and I know you guys were all, not all you guys, but you and the small group here were against that, putting the money into the pool. I mean, I heard some comments, just bulldoze it over, make it a park. Listen, this is a park right here. That is an amenity that, as far as I'm concerned, and this is my opinion only, and I know you differ with this, but if I'm a new home buyer, young family, I'm not going to come back here and buy a little 3-bedroom bungalow for $99,000 when I have nothing really around me. Okay, I know you got the schools, but having that pool right there is an economic driver. It protects that neighborhood. And that's my job as the ward councilman, is to protect that neighborhood. period. And you and I disagree with that, and we'll disagree until the end of time, but that's my thought.
Just in a rebuttal though.
Yes, sir.
In 2016 right now, we could be looking at $1 million white elephant.
I don't understand what you're saying.
It might not even open. You don't know if it's going to open. You two told me you don't know when it's going to open.
Well, it went from $800,000 to $1 million. You said it was over $1 million a few
No, I
minutes
said
ago.
$1 million white elephant for 2016. That's the possibility.
Pool's going to open.
That's a possibility, isn't it?
No, it's
That
not.
might not even open.
No.
It's
No,
a
it's not a
possibility.
possibility.
There's a lot of other possibilities. Possibility we could have an earthquake and the thing could be swallowed.
And we got to give everybody else an opportunity to
All right.
ask questions.
Rich.
Zimmer ditch, baby.
Jeff,
Yes, sir.
do they know what the electrical problem is to get it fixed, to get it passed? Do they know what the problem is?
I think they do, based on the meeting they had today. I think they have a plan in place. I just can't comment on that right now. We have an independent,
Yeah, really what it is, it comes down to grounding.
yeah.
So it's like any piece of metal that's in or near the pool has to be grounded. And so what they do is they run a test. They run a grounding test. And if there's an area that's deficient, they run the test, but then they go and they have to do a thorough check on every piece and part and any metal contact that comes into comes into that into that pool area. Because one of the things that we're learning through this process is you had a resident, and it was not inside of our city, but the kids would go into the pool and they would get shocked. It wasn't a life-threatening thing. It was not our pool. It was their own pool. And what they found is that there was a partially frayed wire under the ground that on rainy days, when the electricity that was just slipping out of that frayed wire under the ground was going through the ground and into the pool. So electricity, the way that it works, is that everything has to be equalized. If you have a higher source as compared to a lower source, it always goes to the lower source. So, one of the things that I've learned through this whole process here recently is grounding and bonding. And that means when you have a ground wire to prevent electric shocks, it has to be bound properly. And then you have to test it. And if it doesn't meet the testing requirements, then that means there's a potential for an electric shock. So then we go through and they're going to check every single aspect, every single point. We don't want, we'll check this corner and we'll try to narrow it down. It's no, you're going through every single spot. You will test every single one. And not only meet the requirements and exceed it, but Chuck, let some of the people ask the questions. I'll answer any of your questions afterwards.
Rod, you're up.
There's a sociological fact that, if I may suggest, we should pump into this whole thing. And the fact is, our society is changing warp speed. How many of you would agree with that? Yeah. Things ain't like they were in the 40s and the 50s, and even the 70s, 80s, 90s. The kids and teenagers, the young kids and teenagers, they're spending more time doing this and this and that, and you know what I mean. But I think the whole situation that people going swimming is going to keep going down, down, down. Remember the green inlet pool? It's been done for years. 38th Street.
Rod, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the question?
I'm saying this pool problem goes beyond getting close to what Larry's saying. It's maybe keep going downhill. We may be losing swimmers. It's that simple.
Yeah, that's okay. Anyone else have a question? Yes, sir. I'm sorry, did I? Be next.
I'm here for one reason, tax evasion.
Okay.
You're not gonna like me, but not people.
I'll like you no matter what.
Retired police officer.
Mr. Conte told me recently that he is not gonna vote on any of his tax evasion because he has property in the city or real estate. Is that true, sir?
Yes.
It would be, I would be a gray area of a conflict.
All right.
He's a real estate agent.
Bear with me, please.
Yes, sir.
My question is, how many of the officials have accepted money from either D-Hawk Company or Lemon Company or your spouses to reference your election? That's my first question.
Okay.
I have.
Okay, then you should have conflict of interest, you should be out of it. I'm sorry.
It's been many years ago, but okay.
I don't care. Anyone else?
I did, my first election.
Okay, then Mr. Fonte's got to stay out because he has the real estate holdings of North Canton.
you should not be involved in anything that conflict of interest. Because quickly, I'll get through this quickly.
Okay.
If you look through the specs of everything, Lemon and D-Hawk are giving out a lot of money because they're going to be able to sell those houses dirt cheap because people are not going to pay taxes. Period. Number two, why is not put on the vote for the citizens of North Canton to vote on? Why are we trying to get this through without a vote? The citizens should be able to vote on it. And the last thing, I'd like an answer to that. I make $40,000 a year, that's my retirement. Across the street from me, they're going to build $200,000 to $300,000 homes. People with affluent income are the only ones that can afford that. We agree with that, right?
I agree.
You can't afford $50,000 income to buy that house.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to watch those children when they're down there, and I'm going to sit in my chair in my garage, and I'm going to say, don't worry about it, kids. I'm paying your taxes. Why are, I'm going to sit down in a second. Why are you so against the retirees of North Canton and want to help multi-millionaires? And that's who these people are. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'll answer your question one by one. I'll answer your question one by one. What was the first one? The Ohio Ethics Commission decides what is a conflict and what isn't. Simple as that. They have benchmarks that you have to meet, and that's accepting campaign contributions and any whatever it is. It doesn't fall under their purview. Secondly. What was the second one? I'm sorry.
Yeah, as far as the tax abatements, you were talking about the tax abatements.
No, there's a second question. Okay. This is how the legislative process works. Okay, we've discussed this since March. It's going to go through 3 readings. Okay. At that time, at the end of the 3rd reading, it has to wait 30 days to become law. Once that becomes law, then I'm assuming Mr. Osborne or one of these guys are going to circulate a referendum petition, okay? And then if he gets enough signatures, it'll go to the ballot and the people will vote. I'm assuming that's how it's going to go down based on what I've heard so far from him in council meetings. So yeah, that's how the process works. Now, if there is no referendum, then it becomes law, and that's the map is the map. That's the CRA map.
It still has to go to the state, though.
Oh yeah, that's true. Now, that's another point too as well, and I think this is lost on some folks. Just because you're in the map doesn't mean you're getting an abatement. You have to apply for that abatement, and you have to meet certain benchmarks, and that will be approved by
our housing officer.
The housing officer. Is there someone else involved in that, or is it just you?
Locally, no.
Okay. All right. And then it's approved by the housing officer. Okay. Now, in regards to the CRA, I know Chuck put out a bunch of handouts. We have some handouts as well, and studies that have been done that show that the CRA is a way to spur development, to keep a community from going over the edge. Now, I'm not saying that North Canton's on the edge of being anywhere close to some of the other communities around us that have declined a little bit. But what we want to do is be proactive. Okay, I'm not looking 5 years down the road, I'm looking 30 years down the road. I'm looking for when my children are grown and living in this community. Period, that's it. I mean, I'm trying to take a longer view on this one.
How can you all good conscience tax me and my income and give people who got $250,000 income and they go free? That doesn't make sense. You are penalizing me. You're penalizing every retiree in here to give a big real estate company and a big builder tax break so they can say, you want to buy this house? It's a great deal. You ain't got to pay no tax for 50 years.
I can speak to that.
Bullshit. I'm sorry.
Sir, please, watch the language. Come on. I'm not cussing at you. Please don't cuss at me. And I can speak to that directly. And listen, you can say anything you want. And I still like you, by the way. Yes, we are. And I can speak to that. Let me tell you this. I mean, I'll trade W-2s with you. We'll compare W-2s. I still have 4 children that I'm raising. Okay, I haven't had a raise in 10 years. That's the truth. Okay, I'm in that boat. There's not multimillionaires up here making this decision, giving money to other multimillionaires. The CRA, the whole crux of this is to nurture fledgling or new business, attracting new business, attracting new homeowners. Listen, without that, the properties you're talking about, Mr. Dehoff has covenants on those 7 properties, meaning the people that buy those lots at a premium, probably around $70,000, $80,000, okay? Which some of those homes probably sold for 30 years ago. They're going to be buying a lot for $80,000. They're going to have 2 to 3 builders to choose from, and those homes have to be at least $350,000, okay? And there's going to be certain aspects of it. It has to be so much brick, so much whatever. They're going to be beautiful homes. I wish he was doing that over here, okay? Around my house. Well, for a short period of time.
15 years.
That number is to be determined.
We're not done with the legislation
That
yet,
number is
so
to be determined.
that's
Do
why
not,
we're here.
what you might be looking at is Mr. Osborne's handouts. Those numbers may change. We will, we're still talking about the amount of years and the percentage.
If you can afford to buy that house, you can afford to pay the taxes. Don't put the burden on
And now here's the, you know what, this is,
Send those kids to Harvard University when they're all adults, you don't have to pay for that.
yeah.
Mr. D has to raise.
Oh, no, hold on.
Hold on.
You know, one of the things is that, you know, one thing that I found is that when you're making these decisions on economic development, the whole thing is that we want to improve our housing stock. We'd like to have, if somebody's going to build a home, we would prefer to have it in North Canton rather than Greene, or rather than Jackson, or rather than Plain. We want them to come to North Canton. And people will say, Mayor, you should have billboards that attract people to North Canton. I don't think that we have a problem people knowing that North Canton has an excellent school system. North Canton, Chuck, please.
You guys have spoken out against the state.
Chuck, you have interrupted the mayor. Listen, I'll throw you out of this meeting, sir. I've thrown you out of council meetings. Look, let him, Chuck, Mr. Osborne, I'm going to give you one more chance. I'm going to give you one more chance.
Okay, so anyways.
You have cut local.
Mr. Osborne,
Besides the state.
are you kidding me?
Chuck, just
Listen to your wife, please.
You're not letting me speak because I know too much and I know what to ask.
You know too much. You're going to have time to speak, and you speak with the mayor every day.
I want to.
I mean, you acting like you have no access.
In public forum.
You do it in council meetings. You have 100% access to this political body.
You guys have been upset with Casey for cutting back local government funds, and yet that's exactly what you're doing to the
Mr.
schools.
Osborne, I'm going to ask you to leave right now. It's time to go. Do you want me to call an officer?
If you want to.
Chuck, just leave then.
Here, will you call the police department, have an officer come out? Mr. Osborne's going to be leaving.
You're cutting funds from the schools. You're taking away
Hey, hold on, you know
money.
what, Chuck? People are leaving because of you.
Hey, I
They
got
didn't come here to listen to you argue with them.
Hey, don't leave. I got a good piece coming here in a minute.
We're done talking until he leaves.
Chuck, go ahead and leave. Go ahead and leave it on.
You're cutting school funding.
All right, Chuck, just go, please.
We'll be over there tomorrow. Come on, guys.
Where there weren't tax breaks for businesses that come in.
Okay, but here's the thing. If you guys, and I'm sorry for this, we kind of go through this on a regular basis.
Every Monday night.
Every Monday night we go through this. But anyhow, here's what I'm hoping that I can answer your question. Because you know what? It's not an easy determination to make. The whole thing is, you know, people will say, when you look at it from a country standpoint, this is what really breaks my heart about our community. We used to make vacuum cleaners here. People would get paid at least $20 an hour. What happened to those jobs? The laws are passed, the trade laws, they go down to Mexico, they go down to China. There's just, those jobs aren't here. If you have people that are graduating from high school, I've got 6 kids, 2 of them are going to be graduating soon, getting a job. I mean, with a livable wage, many people are living with their parents, not because they're lazy, it's just because they can't afford to buy a car, a house, pay back their school loans. It's a real challenge. So then what we're faced with is communities like North Canton, Greene, Jackson, Plain. We're competing to have people move into our city, and then to bring jobs. So one of the points that Chuck Osborne would bring up to me, you're giving tax breaks to millionaires. Well, I'll give you one example, the Schreier Group. They were over in Jackson Township. And we wanted them, they needed to go to a new place. Lemon and Dehoff owned the building. They owned that building that they were in, but they were busting at the seams because the business was growing. So they were looking at a number of different communities, Akron, Canton, a number of different surrounding communities. We wanted them in North Canton. How do we bring them here? Well, what we did is we gave them a tax incentive. So we gave them a tax incentive. When we collect the income tax from them, then we're going to give half back to the company. And you know what? They said, we like that. The owners of the company said, we really like that. So we invested in that agreement. That tax break is over with, and we still have the jobs here. Right now, with all the grant money and all the tax abatements that we had at the Hoover District, I mean, do you know what the income tax was in 2010 from Hoover? 2009? Zero. Zero. No money. We had 23% loss in our income. 23%. We didn't know how we were going to fund the police, how we were going to fund the EMS. Some would say, just raise the taxes. Well, do you know what businesses will do if you raise the taxes? Some of them may stay, some of them may leave. That's the real challenge. So what we decided to do is we've got to be able to provide the service to the residents in a more cost-efficient manner, keep the taxes where they're at, because you know what my initial response was? To raise the income tax. I was like, we got to raise it. How are we going to function? And the council turned it down. And I'm thankful they did turn it down at the time, because you know, we weren't quite sure what we were going to do, but we made it work. So going to the property tax, I've gone back and forth in my own mind. Should we be doing this? Shouldn't we be doing this? What do we do with empty lots? Should they be building on them or shouldn't they? The one problem is we can't say, the Lemon and Dehoff property, we'll have people that buy expensive homes, we will let them build, but then we won't let them build over there with the tax abatement, but we'll only do it for this house, or this one, or this one. We can't selectively pick specific lots. We set up regions. So that's the challenge. One example, when we were looking to reduce the number of employees in the city. I'll get to your question, I promised you. Okay, I will. One of the problems was, well, let's just an early retirement for employees. And thank you for coming, by the way. No.
The city are good business.
What's that?
Tax breaks for a business to come into this city is good business.
Thank you.
That's not what we're talking about.
Thank you.
Huh?
So,
we're not talking about businesses.
I still rise to a point of order. Robert's Rules of Order.
Sir, this isn't a council meeting. This is not a council meeting. This is a neighborhood meeting.
No, forget that.
Yeah. This is informal.
so anyways, let me
Sit down, Rod.
There's an attorney. Ask the attorney about Robert's Rules of Order.
Please sit down, Mr. Covey. Are you kidding me?
Well, I'm allowed to ask for a point of order.
No, you're not. This is a meeting. This is a neighborhood meeting.
I'm allowed to say there's a fire hose.
Did I call roll call?
Let me raise my point of order.
Sir, sit down, please. Sit down.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
has to say.
Please sit down.
Make sure you ask her a question.
Yes. Wait, you know what? Here, let me get to... All right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
There's all the activity going on in Canton during the Hall of Fame. There are hotels being built, restaurants being built, that sort of thing. The anticipation of greater folks coming in, greater numbers coming in, more money being spent. What is Berkshire doing to try and tap into that future?
Yeah, we'd love to tap in any revenue that we can. I mean, we'll take any revenue that we can. But the simple fact is this, that again, we collect income tax off of the people that work in our city. So that when people are working at the Hall of Fame, that revenue is not going to North Canton. But what we hope is that people that are coming into the Hall of Fame that might visit North Canton's restaurants or might go to North Canton's stores, things like that, that they're generating business. But we don't directly get the income tax from that.
But I mean, are we trying to, entice people to build their hotel here, for all of
We don't have any available land to build a hotel within the city limits.
Yeah,
I wish we did.
That's one of the things, is we're limited because we're a small community. And so we're not going to be able to build like a 4-story hotel, right here in the city. Not that it would be impossible, but it's just that they're usually going to look close to the highway. But those are really good points.
Well,
I'm
glad you brought that up, because that shows you what we're up against in regards to raising money through income tax. And that's why we're so focused on the Hoover District and bringing businesses in there to generate some revenue. That's why we are aggressively attacking with the CRA agreement. Now, I know some folks are not happy about certain parts of the map being included in that CRA agreement, but it's all or nothing. It's the whole city. We're looking at the whole city here, and we're taking a long view. And Stephanie made a point. And I wanted to address something, because you might be mistaken when you're talking about the properties that are being developed by Mr. Dehoff. Those tax abatements are going to the property owners, not Mr. Dehoff. Were you thinking they went to the? Okay, all right. Okay, I wanted to make sure that we were clear on that, because there were some questions there.
That's a hell of a selling point.
Exactly, that's exactly right.
It's a guy across the street.
Yeah.
And the limited income, and I live across the street.
I know.
He'll pay for your kids' schooling, don't worry about it. What other thing I gotta do?
Well, and again, like I said, the years. Like I said, the years can be adjusted, and they probably will.
Right.
After 7 years.
I'll sell my house before I start doing that, and I'm sincere about that.
Okay.
I will not allow that to happen.
Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear that.
Our attorney filed a lawsuit. I'm not being threatening. I'm just saying, I'm adamant you cannot do that unless you put it on the ballot, because that's not the right thing. Why are you trying to make me poorer?
I'm not trying to make you poor,
When
sir.
they raise the taxes, if the school comes in and they say, we're going to raise taxes, we want to vote, I'll pay for it, because some people across, people don't pay for it. Nobody never said the friends. They can save the money. Don't you see the point you make? That it's not right.
I do, sir. I do see the point, and here is where we disagree. And no matter how much we yell at each other, it's not going to change the fact that we disagree. I know it is, and I still like you, but I'm telling you. You know what? Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Wait, no. Hold on. Who was it? Right here.
Yeah, this lady.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to know why we're doing all of this for Dehoff Lemon when that property that Dehoff decimated on South Main Street leveled that wonderful woods down there, and not a darn thing has been done.
You're talking Waterside? That development.
Why can't he develop that?
I will tell you why.
There's a potential there to make money.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you why. We got a state grant for that development. And one of the benchmarks we had to hit had to be high-tech jobs. Well, when that was built, that was at 2008, right when the economic collapse happened. There were no high-tech jobs going anywhere.
So what's going to happen with it?
Well, we're not sure right now. I mean, we're going to work with him, through the CRA agreement or working with individual businesses that want to come in. They can work directly with the CIC in some sort of tax abatement to entice businesses there. But we had to have high-tech jobs for what was it, 10 years?
Yes.
Okay, for 10 years. So for 10 years, it had to be a high-tech job. If we brought another company in there that was not high-tech job, we had to pay that money back. Okay, so we got that road done and all that for free, not for free, but not out of the city's general fund. So we had benchmarks we had to hit. That's why we struggled down there.
And I would like to know how a resident, just an individual, not a business, can find out more about the CRA and find out how the residents can take advantage of this besides the billionaires.
Got you. Mr. Eric Bolsrick. Eric, will you stand up, please?
You can call my office, 499-5557.
I got your number.
Please call him. He will explain everything to you on how to go about the process.
And now that I have your attention,
Yeah.
2 more quick things. Suggestion, at the end of this swim season, why don't you take a survey of all your members and ask them, do they want to keep the same management, or would they be interested in paying a little higher membership to have the old management back?
Okay,
So
that's fair.
And the other thing is, what does the Y get out of that arrangement?
Revenue. Yeah, I mean, they're not, obviously the YMCA is not in this for free. Yeah, and so in here, see, here's one of the, this is one of the things, as Jeff Peters had mentioned, one of the there was 2 primary motivating factors. Number 1, financial, that's one. But even more importantly than the financial, there was a safety aspect. It doesn't mean that the city was doing anything wrong, but what we have learned is that when we're doing something 3 months out of the year, and the YMCA is doing it 365 days out of the year. Yeah, and so.
You know what? Your members are complaining.
Well, and the thing is, but we do have some of our members that are complaining, but then some of our members are really happy. Some of the members have been very happy with it.
Last year they did do a survey, and the survey came back very positively. And we have numbers that represent how much we made as a city versus what they made. And even this year we kind of negotiated and said, we want to make a little more here, we understand you can make here. But I think we're just not getting the bigger picture of kind of what it helped us as a city and what it eliminated Jim Davies having to do from hiring and firing and managing how many Rolos are on the station to toilet paper. So it was a good arrangement. The city and council would not invest in something, and time-wise, that wasn't a good arrangement for us. So I think we're missing a little bit of that, and a survey was done. Quite honestly, we received very, very minimal complaints last year. And they would go, and once they were sent to us, and it was minimal. So we are available anytime for people to call us and tell us. We received minimal. Just like for the CRA, Marcia mentioned, it's been on our agenda since March. People haven't called. We had a lot more calls about trash cans than this CRA. And when you talked about how would you find out, one of our things we want to do is when this passes, which if we move forward with this, we hope to get it down to the state. It would pass probably by the end of the summer. We would make sure that all the residents know how to take care of what the process is, whether it's through a newsletter, whether it's through a letter, because there's a process, there's forms you'd have to fill out, but it wouldn't just be you have to call Eric. You're right, he's extremely hard to get a hold of because he is so busy and doing a good job, but we would make that way easier for you.
And let's make this clear as well, we already have two CRAs in the city that we've been managing for 15 years. Mr. Osborne actually takes advantage of one of them and currently gets a tax abatement on his property. So there are CRAs in the community, and we have been managing them for many years. So this isn't a new concept. The new concept is that we're now broadening the scope and trying to open it up to more homeowners in the city.
And I will say,
it's new to me, and it was new to everybody that I've talked to since. Do you know about this? No, they didn't know.
Well, right, we just started talking about it in March.
But
it was,
right, it was before. It used to be kind of a narrow corridor along Main Street, and now they're really expanding it. So Doug Foltz had a constituent the other day that came up and talked about his home off of Portage, and they were going to do stuff. He would now qualify. Before, they wouldn't qualify. And I'll tell you, the exciting thing is Louisville now wants to do a CRA. Green is talking about a CRA. So it's creating this buzz because, unfortunately, to your point, ma'am, I work at the Chamber of Commerce. I see those meetings all the time about what's happening. The paper is in love with what they're doing at the Hall of Fame because they know it's good for our community. Our county just went down another level from, I think, 8th largest to now we're the 9th. That's not good. That means people are leaving our community. Not just North Canton, all communities. So anything that we can do to keep people here, we have to do this. I mean, I just had a resident call me last night, and she lives on Fairview, and she said, what is happening to our community? I know that people like to say it's the same. It's not. I've lived here 50 years. It's going downhill. I had another resident on Claremont who I went to his house. He showed me 6 rentals that were all right there. We have to do something. There's nothing wrong with rentals, but we need to make sure that we're monitoring and trying to make new houses. And when they pointed out, we can't segment. And I know we keep talking about D-Hoff and Lemon, that's just one development. I hope there's many homeowners or many developers that are going to put houses in different lots. And this allows them to do that, because I'm telling you, if you've ever been to Green on a weekday night at 5 o'clock, it's jam-packed. And there's development after development. And I would think that we want this to continue on Main Street. And we have to do something to spur that.
Judy, you got a question?
More comment than a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I've heard all of the elected officials talk about the word efficiency, and I think you have a little bit too narrow of a definition of efficiency, where you're looking at it purely in terms of financial concerns.
Okay.
The cost-benefit analysis in terms of a lot of these issues that are financial, I think the piece that our Canton politicians are sometimes leaving out, and each of you to varying degrees, is the effectiveness of some of your decisions. I think you're hearing tonight that it may have not been the most efficient, effective decision for the YMCA to be managing the pool, but you have a couple of directions to go. I think it was an excellent suggestion that you do a survey at the end of this season to see what it's like in terms of the management. From what I heard, and I'm not invested in that particular issue. I am not a Dogwood Pool member. I am a citizen of North Canton, and I care about it being available to those that want it. And I'm not sure that when the decision was made, I think the decision was made based on financially related.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Purely financially related.
You know what,
in terms of costs,
well,
the cost savings in terms of...
Let me, if you don't mind, can I comment on that? Because really what it is, when we're looking, I don't want to, go ahead, if you want to finish.
Let her finish your thought.
It was made on cost savings and cost efficiencies
Right.
in terms of pool chemicals, and I understand the logic of it in terms of YMCA's. One thing that virtually all YMCA's have pools, they should be better than the average public in terms of running a pool.
Right.
That apparently did turn out to be true for our first year of experience. It would be good to see what a second year has. What the point I'm making is, if you look at the issues of effectiveness, I would like to encourage the politicians to look at the effectiveness for the average citizen, homeowner in the community, which I think is sometimes left out in terms of the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
When you look too narrow in the definition of efficiency. That's all I'm saying, because using the Dogwood Pool, which is not my issue, my issue is.
Absolutely. Well, and that's a fair criticism. That's a fair argument, and I would agree with that. I think a lot of our decisions is based on financial. I mean, it's
right. I just encourage you to look at the average citizen, the effects on the average citizens. That's all I would say.
Thanks, Judy. I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Hey, Jeff, CRA, just so I understand, it's Chuck's paper, but just so I understand.
Okay.
Northridge Place, the apartments up on North Main, right?
Yes.
2013.
That was the trailer park.
That was the
Well,
trailer.
I understand, okay, so it's talking about the same place. When he built that, was this benefit, was he giving that, is it incentive to build that there?
Yes, that CRA was already in place, so
It
when he
was?
built
Okay.
it, yeah.
Okay, so we're not going retroactive on this.
No, that was already in
Okay, 'cause
place.
that was what
That was one of
that's the
the,
rumor that were floating around somebody.
that was one of the current CRAs that are in place right
Well,
now.
that's, okay, because I understand the benefit for that, so we're not backing up, we're not
No, sir.
backing in. Okay, I'm gonna switch gears completely. What's going on with the apartments in Hoover District?
I don't know if we have any.
You got to answer that, Mayor?
Yeah. Well, here's what, here's how this works. What they're doing at the Hoover District is they want to put in apartments. And the reason they put in apartments and not condos, at least at this point, is because they're getting tax credits. So the developers, they will use government money in order to develop their projects. If they do not have the government money, it's very likely that they would not have developed the Hoover District. You can't make a developer, so you come in here and you develop in North Canton.